The disrespectful mocking. The vast expanse of space stretched out in front of the alien fleet like an endless dark ocean. In the center of this dark sea, a small, seemingly insignificant human warship drifted, barely noticeable among the might of the alien armada. To the commanders of the alien ships, this was nothing more than a joke, a laughable display of human overconfidence. The Aegis, Earth's largest warship, was hardly anything to fear. It was massive, yes, but it was also slow. So slow, in fact, that its very design seemed outdated. The alien generals looked at the warship from their command stations and sneered. They had faced countless civilizations before, and none had posed a real threat. So, why should this be any different? The alien fleet, an imposing force made up of sleek, fast, and deadly ships, was eager to destroy this so-called threat. They saw the humans as primitive, slow creatures who had no real place in the galaxy. Their warship, the Aegis, was an easy target, and the aliens were more than ready to wipe them out in one swift strike. This is their great weapon. Commander Vrax, leader of the alien fleet, scoffed, his voice laced with mockery. It looks like a floating city from an old Earth movie. How quaint. His officers shared a laugh, shaking their heads at the absurdity of it. The humans had clearly not learned their place in the galaxy. The Aegis was nothing more than a symbol of their desperation, their false hope. As the alien ships circled around the Aegis, preparing for their attack, the human crew on board were calm. They had heard the rumors about the aliens laughing at them, underestimating their power. But the humans had been quiet for a reason. They had kept their real strength hidden. What the aliens did not know was that beneath the slow-moving hull of the Aegis, there was a force far greater than any of them could imagine. From the human side, the battle was one of silent anticipation. The Aegis was no ordinary warship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and determination. But the aliens would not see this until it was too late. Back on Earth, General Monroe stood at the command center, watching the battle unfold on his screen. He had spent years preparing for this day, secretly upgrading the Aegis with cutting-edge technology. The ship's heavy armor and slow-moving engines were just a facade. Beneath its massive exterior was a machine built to strike with precision, a weapon designed to hit when it was least expected. Monroe knew the aliens would underestimate them. He counted on it. Humanity had learned the art of surprise long ago, and today it was their turn to teach the invaders a lesson. The Aegis was creeping forward at a speed that seemed almost laughable to the alien generals. It looked like an easy target, too slow to dodge, too large to maneuver quickly. They believed that all it would take was a few well-placed blasts, and the ship would be reduced to space debris. Meanwhile, the alien fleet moved into position, eager to take the Aegis down. Their ships, designed for agility and firepower, easily outclassed the human vessel. As they prepared their weapons, they looked on with amusement. "What a waste of time," Vrax muttered. "Let's make this quick." But as the first round of attacks launched toward the Aegis, something unexpected happened. The ship didn't explode in a fiery burst like the aliens had anticipated. Instead, the Aegis shifted, moving with an uncanny precision that no one could have predicted. The alien ships hesitated. Something wasn't right. Vrax blinked in disbelief. "What is happening?" he asked, his voice now filled with uncertainty. The Aegis had moved almost effortlessly, dodging the first few rounds of alien fire. The ship wasn't as slow as it appeared. In fact, it had been hiding its true capabilities the whole time. The aliens had thought their firepower would be enough to overwhelm the human vessel, but they were wrong. The crew on the Aegis watched with focus. They knew the aliens didn't take them seriously, and they knew they were in for a rude awakening. On the alien ships, the commanders started to get nervous. The humans were moving faster than expected, and their warship wasn't falling apart as they had predicted. The Aegis wasn't just surviving. It was dodging and counterattacking, its shields absorbing the alien blasts without much visible damage. Vrax stared at the screens, his mind racing. How is this possible? He had seen every type of weapon and strategy in the galaxy, but this was something new. But the aliens were not ready to give up just yet. They had the numbers, the speed, and the firepower. They began to regroup, planning to finish the job with a full-on assault. They wouldn't let this slow, clumsy ship get the better of them. The tension between the two sides continued to grow, with each moment building toward an inevitable clash. And yet, the humans remained calm. The Aegis continued to move through the battlefield, its weapons charging in the background, preparing for a response the aliens would never see coming. The aliens had made one fatal mistake. They had laughed at humanity's slow ship. But in their arrogance, they had failed to see the true power hidden within. And now, as the alien fleet regrouped, the real battle was about to begin. The first strike. The alien fleet moved in closer, forming a massive ring around the Aegis, their ships prepared to strike in a coordinated effort. The commanders of the alien ships were confident. This would be a quick and easy victory. They had faced many species, crushed many enemies. None had ever withstood their assault. They laughed to themselves, believing the Aegis was an easy target. How foolish they were. The humans aboard the Aegis, however, were not laughing. Instead, they were silent, focused, their every move a testament to the preparation and planning that had gone into this moment. In the quiet command center, General Monroe's eyes never left the screen. His team had been working for years, perfecting the upgrades, the hidden technology, all while the world believed the Aegis was outdated, slow, and obsolete. Monroe leaned forward, his fingers hovering over the controls. He knew the aliens had underestimated humanity, and he was counting on it. The time to strike was approaching. Activate the cloaking shields. With a soft hum, the Aegis's massive hull shimmered and flickered, becoming nearly invisible to the alien ships. The stealth technology, buried deep beneath layers of armor and seemingly outdated systems, kicked into action. The ship was no longer a visible target. To the alien fleet, it seemed as though the Aegis had vanished. The first wave of alien fire rained down on the area where the Aegis had been, but the Aegis was no longer there. It was moving, slowly but surely, to its next position. Vrax, the alien commander, was seething. Where did it go? He demanded, his voice now full of frustration. Where is that ship? His officers scrambled to find it, adjusting their targeting systems, their scanners running at full capacity. But the Aegis was hidden, its cloaking systems making it virtually undetectable. For a moment, the alien fleet seemed to be in disarray, unsure of what was happening. They had always relied on overwhelming force to defeat their enemies, and the humans' sudden disappearance had thrown them off balance. Inside the Aegis, the human crew moved with precision. They knew exactly what they had to do. The first strike was about to land. General Monroe stood behind the operations console, his eyes narrowed. Activate countermeasures. Launch the torpedoes. Without warning, the Aegis surged forward, its massive engines firing with all the hidden power they had. It wasn't slow anymore. The ship was a hidden beast, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The torpedoes, sleek and fast, shot out from the Aegis's hull like missiles from the depths of the ocean. The aliens were still trying to locate the ship, not realizing that the Aegis was already in position. The first torpedo hit an alien ship, exploding with a deafening blast. The shockwave rippled through the alien fleet, and for the first time, the aliens were on the defensive. Vrax's eyes widened in disbelief. What was that? He hissed, staring at the empty space where the Aegis had once been. Another torpedo launched, this time striking the second alien vessel with devastating accuracy. The alien ship shattered, its hull breaking apart in a burst of flames. The Aegis was no longer just a target. It was a deadly weapon, and the aliens were starting to realize it too late. "What the hell is going on?" shouted one of the alien officers. "How are they doing this?" The Aegis continued its assault, moving through the chaos of the alien fleet with deadly precision. Each shot was calculated, each movement deliberate. The crew of the Aegis was calm, executing their plan flawlessly. Vrax roared in anger. "All ships, attack. Do not let them escape." But the Aegis was already on the move again. The torpedoes kept coming, and the alien ships, once so confident in their superiority, were beginning to fall one by one. On Earth, the people watched in awe as the news began to trickle in. The Aegis had been dismissed as an outdated ship by many, but now it was the centerpiece of a global miracle. The quiet, unassuming warship was proving itself to be a force to be reckoned with. Back in space, the battle raged on. The Aegis continued to strike, its powerful, hidden weapons tearing apart the alien fleet. The tide had turned, and the aliens, once so sure of their victory, were now scrambling to regroup. Vrax cursed under his breath. He had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price for it. The once mighty fleet that had laughed at Earth's slow warship was now facing the wrath of humanity's hidden strength. The Aegis wasn't just striking back. It was destroying the alien fleet, piece by piece. And the aliens, once so confident in their superiority, were starting to realize they had made a fatal mistake. The battle had only just begun, but it was clear. The humans were not going to go down without a fight. And the alien generals were about to learn that the slow, underestimated human warship was far more than they could ever have imagined. The alien fleet's desperation. The situation had become dire for the alien commanders. They had never anticipated this level of resistance from humanity. Their fleet, once a symbol of invincibility, was now being torn apart by a ship they had dismissed as slow and outdated. The Aegis, its hull once thought to be obsolete, its weaponry primitive in comparison to the alien technology, had turned into a nightmare for the invaders. Vrax stood in his command center, his jaw clenched. He had expected an easy conquest of Earth, and yet this human ship had turned the tables. He watched in disbelief as the Aegis unleashed hell upon his fleet, torpedo after torpedo hitting their targets with pinpoint accuracy. Alien ships, once proud symbols of a conquering empire, were now burning wrecks drifting through space. How could this be? Vrax muttered to himself, staring at the holographic map showing the disintegration of his forces. How are they doing this? His officers scrambled to analyze the situation. The Aegis was evading every attempt to locate it. Its cloaking technology, combined with its unrelenting offensive power, had made it nearly impossible to stop. The alien fleet had tried to regroup, launching wave after wave of fighters and larger ships, but the Aegis simply melted through their ranks with devastating efficiency. One of the senior officers, a tall alien with a sleek silver exoskeleton, turned to Vrax with fear in his eyes. "Commander, we can't hold them off much longer. Our shields are weakening, and we've already lost over half of our ships." Vrax clenched his fists. He had never been in this position before. The Aegis wasn't just fighting back, it was annihilating them. His arrogance had blinded him to humanity's potential. He had underestimated them, thinking they were just another weak species, easily crushed under the might of the Galactic Empire. "We need to take out the Aegis." Vrax's voice was a low growl. "Send everything we have, every ship, every fighter. Make sure that ship is destroyed." But his orders were met with hesitation. The officers looked around nervously, realizing that their fleet had already suffered catastrophic losses. They could throw everything they had at the Aegis, but the human warship had proven itself to be far more resilient than anything they had ever encountered. "It might be too late." The silver alien officer spoke softly. "We may not have the strength to take on that ship. The humans, they've turned the tables on us." Vrax's fury flared. "I said attack. Send everything we have." But before the order could be fully carried out, another devastating blow struck the alien fleet. This time, it wasn't a torpedo from the Aegis, but a series of deadly energy blasts that erupted from its hull, sending alien ships spiraling into flames. The Aegis had unleashed its hidden weapons, energy cannons designed for close-range assaults. They burned through the alien ships like a hot knife through butter. As the flames erupted in the depths of space, the alien commanders knew that the situation was slipping out of their control. Their forces were disintegrating, their power crumbling before the relentless might of the Aegis. Back on Earth, the news was spreading like wildfire. Humanity had long feared alien invasion, and the Aegis had been their last line of defense. But now, that very ship had become a symbol of hope, a symbol of humanity's defiance. As the battle raged in space, people around the world were glued to their screens, cheering on the humans who had once been dismissed as weak and helpless. Inside the Aegis, General Monroe stood before the command center, watching the damage unfold on the tactical screens. He wasn't surprised by the aliens' failure to outmaneuver the Aegis. They had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. "This is only the beginning," Monroe muttered to himself. "We've got them right where we want them." His crew was working efficiently, coordinating every move with precision. They had trained for this moment for years, perfecting every weapon, every maneuver. The Aegis was not just a ship, it was humanity's final stand, and they were going to make sure that no alien force would ever threaten Earth again. As the battle continued, the alien fleet began to retreat, realizing that their superiority was nothing but an illusion. They had met their match in the Aegis, and humanity was not going to back down. The human warship, once mocked for its perceived slowness, had shown the galaxy the true power of Earth. It had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity would fight back and prevail. The Aegis had become more than just a ship. It had become a symbol of humanity's strength and resilience. And as the last of the alien ships fled into the depths of space, one thing was clear. The Aegis had struck fear into the heart of the invaders, and Earth was no longer a planet to be underestimated. The battle was far from over, but the Aegis had already won the first round. The aliens would never forget the day they mocked humanity's warship, only to see it unleash hell upon them. The alien empire's collapse. The alien fleet, broken and battered, drifted aimlessly through the vast void of space. What was once a force of conquest had turned into a disorganized retreat. Vrax, the commander of the fleet, stood in front of the shattered remains of the battle station, his mind racing. He could barely comprehend what had happened. His forces had underestimated the Aegis, and now the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The transmission screens in his command center flickered, a sign of how much power was lost. He'd hoped to crush Earth under the weight of the Galactic Empire's might. But now he was the one on the edge of defeat. There was no turning back. Humanity had shown that they were not just another species to be conquered, but a formidable force in their own right. How did this happen? Vrax muttered, his voice tinged with disbelief. One of his remaining officers, a young and once confident alien named Corax, turned from the control panel, his face filled with anxiety. "Commander, the Aegis has destroyed over half of our fleet. Our communication channels are down, and the remaining ships are retreating. We're being routed. The Aegis has changed the game." Vrax's fists clenched in frustration. The Aegis was more than just a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's unexpected strength. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was forced to reckon with a species they had long overlooked. Vrax had thought Earth was weak, that humanity was just a collection of primitive creatures. But now, Earth had proven that their slow warship was capable of leveling the playing field. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Monroe and the crew of the Aegis were hard at work, ensuring that their victory would not be short-lived. The humans had tasted the sweet satisfaction of winning this battle, but they knew that the war was far from over. This was just the first step in securing their place in the galaxy. Monroe watched the feeds from the Aegis as the last of the alien ships made a hasty retreat. He couldn't help but feel a rush of pride. They had done the impossible. Earth had survived, and now they had a new chance to forge their future. "Status update, Captain," Monroe asked, his voice calm yet full of determination. The captain of the Aegis, Captain Elena Harris, turned to face him. Her face was set with the kind of steely resolve only experienced leaders could carry. "We've taken heavy damage, sir, but our systems are still operational. We're tracking the retreating enemy ships. They're fleeing back into the outer rim." Monroe nodded, his thoughts racing. He knew this wasn't over. While the alien fleet had been destroyed, there was still a larger galactic empire to contend with. The aliens would regroup, but they would also know that Earth was not an easy target. And that made all the difference. "We need to send a message," Monroe said firmly. "We cannot let them think we are vulnerable. Not anymore." Back in the alien fleet's command center, Vrax's rage had reached its peak. The humans had not just defended their home. They had humiliated the mighty galactic empire. The Aegis had cut through his forces like a hot knife through butter, dismantling their pride piece by piece. Now his empire's standing in the galaxy was in jeopardy. "We underestimated them," Vrax said, pacing back and forth. "We made a grave mistake." His mind churned with thoughts of retaliation, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't deny the reality. The Aegis had proven its worth. Humanity wasn't just another insignificant species to crush. They were a threat to his empire's supremacy. Krax approached Vrax, his voice hesitant but determined. "Commander, what do we do now?" Vrax stopped pacing and faced the young officer. His eyes narrowed. "We regroup, Krax. We return to the Empire and report this disaster. Then we prepare for the worst. The humans will be ready for us next time. But we won't make the same mistake again." The invasion had failed. But the war was far from over. The galaxy would soon feel the full weight of humanity's potential. The Aegis had proven that Earth was a force to be reckoned with, and its enemies would not soon forget it. On Earth, celebrations erupted in cities all over the world. Humanity had done the impossible. They had pushed back an invading force, and for the first time in history, the universe had seen their true strength. The Aegis had been the symbol of their power, but now, humanity had a renewed sense of purpose. They had shown the galaxy that they would not be easily subdued. They had proven that even against impossible odds, they could rise to the occasion. As the news spread, people stood in awe, watching the silent victory unfold across their screens. The world had been forever changed. The Aegis had struck fear into the hearts of the invaders, and Earth was no longer a planet to be taken lightly. But as the celebrations continued, General Monroe and his crew knew that the road ahead would be long and uncertain. The Aegis had won the battle, but the war was far from over. The enemy had retreated, but they would be back. Humanity had to be ready to defend its place in the galaxy. The next time, it would be a fight for survival. But for now, Earth could breathe a little easier. The alien fleet had been defeated, and for the first time in history, the galaxy understood one simple truth: never underestimate humanity. The calm before the storm. The galaxy had never witnessed a battle like the one fought over Earth. In the aftermath of the Aegis's victory, the universe's political landscape shifted, from the far reaches of the galaxy to the heart of the galactic empire. The words human and Earth now carried a weight they never had before. On Earth, the celebrations were massive. Crowds filled the streets, cheering for the crew of the Aegis, and for the first time in centuries, the people felt united. The news reports focused on the victory, and there was a renewed sense of pride in the air. The world was no longer a passive player in the cosmic theater. They had proven their strength. But General Monroe knew better. He had lived through too many wars to believe that this was the end. The Aegis had won the battle, but the true war was just beginning. "We may have won the fight, but the real enemy is still out there," Monroe said as he sat at the command table aboard the Aegis. The room was filled with his most trusted officers, all of whom shared the same grim expression. The celebration was over. It was time to plan for the future. Captain Harris, the leader of the Aegis, nodded. We've sent a message to the Galactic Empire, but this is just one battle. The war isn't over. We can expect retaliation. Monroe's gaze hardened. Exactly. They underestimated us, but they won't make that mistake again. They'll regroup, and next time, they'll come with everything they have. The crew nodded in agreement. The Aegis had been built for just such a moment when humanity had to stand its ground against an empire much older and more powerful than Earth. But they also knew the Aegis wasn't the only warship humanity had. Our secret weapons are ready, Captain Harris said. The hidden fleets, the deep space stations, the underwater defenses. We've been preparing for years. Monroe glanced at the star map, his fingers brushing over the glowing lines that indicated Earth's vast defenses. The question now is, are we ready to take the fight to them? The words hung in the air like a heavy storm cloud. The Earth was ready, but were they truly prepared for the war that was to come? The enemy would not only be armed, but also humiliated, and that kind of loss would drive them to be ruthless. Captain Harris spoke again, breaking the silence. General, the Aegis is more than just a ship. It's a symbol. The enemy will come back, but we need to make sure they understand that every time they strike, it will be their last. Monroe took a deep breath. We've only just begun. The Aegis will remain our spearhead, but we need to be smarter, more prepared. We will hit them where they least expect it. We have technology they don't understand, resources they've never seen before. They'll be in for a surprise when they come back. We'll hit them hard, Captain Harris agreed. But we need to know where they are first. Intelligence will be key. Just as the officers began to discuss their next moves, an urgent transmission arrived. The image flickered on the screen, and Vrax's familiar face appeared, disheveled, frustrated, and clearly filled with hate. He was still the commander of the alien forces, but his presence now carried a sense of weakness. You think you've won, humans, Vrax said, his voice a low growl. This is far from over. You've made an enemy of the Galactic Empire, and we won't forget this humiliation. Monroe stood tall. You can try, Vrax, but we'll be ready. And next time, we won't just defend Earth. We'll make sure you never threaten this planet again. Vrax's eyes narrowed. We will return, and we will destroy your fleet. We will show you what true power is. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a charged silence in the command room. It was clear that the alien forces were far from defeated. They were regrouping, gathering their strength, and waiting for the moment to strike back. Monroe's eyes were steady as he stared at the blank screen. The calm before the storm, he muttered. But this time will be the storm. The crew of the Aegis knew that the enemy's words were more than just a threat. They were a promise. The Aegis had given them an edge, but it was only one weapon in a much larger war. The humans had proven they could hold their own, but now it was time to go on the offensive. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the humans were ready to show that they would never back down. The Earth was not just a planet in the far corner of the galaxy anymore. It was the home of a species that had the power to fight and win, a species that had earned the respect and fear of the entire galaxy. General Monroe stood up from the table and looked around at his crew. Prepare the fleet. Get our forces ready. When they come back, we're going to show them the full force of humanity. The universe had learned one lesson: never underestimate Earth. The counterattack. The first signs of the retaliatory strike came in the form of an eerie silence across the galaxy. It was a silence that had the crew of the Aegis on edge, waiting for something to break it. The Galactic Empire's fleet, once a symbol of their overwhelming power, had gone radio silent. Their movements were being tracked, but they had cleverly gone into hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the days that followed their initial victory, General Monroe knew that the Empire's humiliation would lead to a more devastating response. The Aegis was ready, but they weren't the only fleet Earth had prepared. Under the surface of the ocean, deep in the waters of the Pacific, lay humanity's hidden fleet, a full armada of underwater warships, vessels that had been designed in secret for just such an occasion. The Aegis wasn't just a warship. It was part of a much larger plan, one that would turn the tide in humanity's favor. But first, they needed to confirm the movements of the enemy. The communications officers on the Aegis were working around the clock, gathering every scrap of intelligence from the alien fleet. Finally, it came. The Galactic Empire was moving in. Their fleet was gathering near the far side of the moon, a perfect location to launch a surprise attack on Earth. They were planning to strike at humanity's heart, the Aegis's home port, where the rest of the fleet was stationed. "Get us in position," Monroe barked as the ship's engines roared to life. "We won't let them surprise us again." Captain Harris watched the star map as it flickered with new data. The Empire's fleet is still small compared to ours, but they're using their stealth technology to hide their movements. We'll have to use our countermeasures carefully. Monroe nodded, his fingers moving swiftly across the command console. "The Aegis is our spearhead, but the real force will come from the underwater fleet. We've kept this hidden for too long. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The tension in the room was palpable. The crew knew this was their moment. The calm before the storm had ended, and the storm was coming in full force. With the Aegis leading the charge, they moved toward the hidden enemy fleet. The Aegis was faster, more maneuverable, and better equipped with advanced stealth technology. Monroe had faith in the ship, but he knew that it would take more than just the Aegis to win. At the exact moment that the enemy fleet made its move, the Earth's secret armada rose from the depths of the oceans. Thousands of sleek, deadly warships broke the surface, their engines firing up and lighting up the night sky. The alien fleet, which had thought they were out of range, was caught off guard by the sheer size and power of the hidden force. They had underestimated Earth's resolve. "Activate all weapons," Monroe ordered. The Aegis and the underwater fleet fired their weapons in unison, a barrage of missiles and energy blasts cutting through the space surrounding the enemy fleet. The shock was immediate. Alien ships were hit before they even had time to retaliate. The once dominant Galactic Empire was thrown into chaos. They had never expected the Earth to have such advanced capabilities, let alone a hidden armada beneath the oceans. The alien generals scrambled to issue orders, but it was too late. The combined forces of the Aegis and the underwater fleet tore through their defenses. The invincible empire that had once mocked humanity was now on the defensive. The battle was swift, but devastating. Captain Harris stood at the helm, watching as the battle unfolded. "This is it, General. They're retreating. They didn't expect us to hit them this hard." Monroe's eyes narrowed as he watched the alien ships retreating into the depths of space. He had no intention of letting them escape. "Not yet. We finished this here." The Aegis and the underwater fleet pursued the retreating enemy, pushing them further into their own territory. There would be no peace until Earth was safe. The humans had sent a message, loud and clear, to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated. As the final alien ships turned and fled, Monroe felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This wasn't just a victory in the battle, it was a statement. The Galactic Empire had been humiliated. The warriors who had once looked down on humanity were now running for their lives. But Monroe knew this wasn't the end. The Empire would regroup, as all empires do, and when they did, Earth would be waiting. For now, the Aegis and the underwater fleet returned to Earth, their mission accomplished, for the moment. But General Monroe knew there was more to do. There was no such thing as permanent peace in the galaxy. Every victory only led to the next fight. And humanity was ready for whatever came next. The legacy of humanity's defiance. The battle was over, but the galaxy had changed. General Monroe stood on the command deck of the Aegis, gazing out into the void. The stars, once silent witnesses to humanity's struggle for survival, now felt like distant reminders of the war that had unfolded. The Galactic Empire had been forced to retreat, humiliated by the might of Earth's unexpected armada. But as the enemy ships scattered into the far reaches of space, Monroe knew this victory would not be enough to secure humanity's future. The Empire would regroup as all empires did. They would learn, adapt, and return. But humanity had learned something crucial of its own, that the galaxy had underestimated Earth, and now the tables had turned. "We've sent a message, General," Captain Harris said, standing beside him. "The galaxy won't forget this." Monroe nodded, a grim smile forming on his face. "Let them remember. Let them all remember that Earth is not a planet to be ignored. And if anyone dares challenge us again, they will find that we are not just survivors. We are warriors." Back on Earth, the story of the battle was being spread far and wide. News stations broadcasted footage of the victorious fleets, the silent underwater ships rising from the oceans, and the relentless Aegis tearing through the alien forces. Earth had claimed a victory that few thought possible, and with it, a new era was born. In the aftermath, the political leaders of the world held their breath, knowing that Earth had not just won a battle, but had taken its first step onto the galactic stage. The global economy was shifting, and Earth's role in the galactic community would never be the same. There would be consequences to this shift, both good and bad, but one thing was certain: humanity had earned its place. The warships that had once been hidden beneath the oceans were now fully integrated into Earth's military arsenal. They were no longer a secret, and humanity was eager to show the galaxy that they had the power to defend themselves. The Aegis, now revered as humanity's flagship, would be the first of many warships that would patrol the stars. The Galactic Empire, reeling from their defeat, began to look for new strategies to reclaim their dominance. The alien generals who had underestimated humanity were now desperate to find a way to restore their reputation. But every time they tried to regroup, their plans were thwarted. Human ingenuity and determination had proven stronger than their most advanced weapons. Monroe stood before his crew, his voice firm but filled with pride. "Today we've proven that no one is beyond our reach. We are no longer a forgotten world on the edge of the galaxy. We are a force to be reckoned with. And if any empire dares to threaten our future, we will show them just how far humanity is willing to go." As the Aegis left the Earth's orbit, heading toward the unknown, Monroe could feel the weight of his mission growing heavier. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. He had no illusions about what lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, and many more powers would rise to challenge Earth's newfound might. But with the power of the Aegis, the secret Armada, and humanity's resolve, they were ready for whatever came next. And so the Aegis sailed into the depths of space, a symbol of humanity's defiance, strength, and determination. With every jump through the stars, they carried the message of Earth's victory. Humanity was no longer a race to be laughed at, ignored, or underestimated. They were a power to be feared, and they had only just begun. The galaxy would never forget.